Hey, what's up, guys? It's Bakes here, and thank you for joining me for today's random horror review. One of my last episodes in the random horror review series till I hit October, where I'll be doing the 31 Days of Horror challenge all through that month. So, just means more horror reviews, but last entry in this series for a little while. And today's movie is one that is a controversial film. I feel like if you've been in the horror community for long enough and know your way around exploitation films as well, this film is definitely one that you would have heard of, if not definitely have seen. But it's still one that, when brought up, stirs a bit of controversy depending on who you're talking to. But we'll get into that a little bit. Today's movie from 1978. I Spit on Your Grave, otherwise known as Day of the Woman. I love that alternative title. I think it's actually really cool. But I also think I Spit on Your Grave is a cool title as well. This is obviously the original. Had a remake come out, and then the remake spawned 3 sequels, maybe even 4 sequels. But we're talking about the OG here, the one with famously, I could have this wrong. I don't want to get it wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's meant to be Demi Moore on the cover. She's not in the film, but I'm pretty sure that's her ass on the cover there. But either way, I Spit on Your Grave. Now, I guess for people that maybe don't know, this is a pretty well-known film when it comes to exploitation horror, and especially when it comes to the small subgenre known as, I got to sub a word in here, grape revenge. Yeah, there's obviously revenge horror, but a small little branch off of that is grape revenge. And when you talk about that subgenre, there's a handful of movies that do come to mind, but I'd probably say this is the one that is sort of the title card for that small subgenre of horror. Like I said, if you are branching into those sort of exploitation horror films and whatever, this is going to be one that you hear about very early on. This is a movie that I've seen maybe 3 times, 4 times, probably 3 times, something like that. I actually probably like this just as much as the remake. I hear a lot of people very divided on if they like the remake more or this one. The remake's more brutal with like the revenge aspects, but this one's the OG and was the first time you're seeing this story and whatever. So they both have their merits, but I guess before I get into my thoughts of this movie, I'll quickly go into the plot for this one. I know most of the people watching this channel are pretty aware of this movie at least, or pretty content with some of the things that we talk about here, but I guess just a content warning for those who don't know. So this is about a New York writer who is taking a trip off into like the isolated countryside, sort of secluded area by this lake in the woods, just to get away because, like I said, she's a writer. She's trying to just lock in, get her writing done, have some time to herself, sort of thing. And at first, the first half of this movie, it's like, other than a few disturbances and whatever, like the area, the location is beautiful. She's really set in on having a good time there, relaxing, getting into this writing. But unfortunately, her time away is interrupted by a group of men who have intentions with her that aren't the greatest. And the rest of the movie is her seeking her revenge for these terrible things that they done. And like I said, it's a rape revenge film, so connect the dots there. But either way, I Spit on Your Grave, otherwise known as Day of the Woman. Let's get into my thoughts of it now. So where to start with a movie like I Spit on Your Grave? It's a weird one to talk about because even though, like I said, a lot of people watching this video, I presume, have seen this movie or are familiar with it or whatever, there's still always going to be those people that are like, not just, having a go at you for enjoying a movie like this, but even watching it, there's always those people that are like, if you watch a movie like this, you're disgusting, and, there's all these arguments that are brought up and whatever. I think it's just one of those things where obviously something like this in real life is terrible, but in any horror movie, if rape is involved or not, terrible things are happening. This happening in real life, which unfortunately I'm sure it does, is terrible, but as a fictional movie, you take it for that. And there are a lot of people who do enjoy these great revenge movies. Now, revenge movies in general, revenge horror, aren't always my favorite. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of good ones out there, but in terms of subgenres that are my favorites and whatever, this isn't high up there, but I do enjoy I Spit on Your Grave. Like I said, I've seen this movie 3-4 times, and every time I've always enjoyed watching the movie. Yes, it's brutal and there's some hard to watch moments and stuff, but I think that just sort of comes to my point of like just really immersing you in the movie, and it's rough watch, but then her going out to get her revenge is also like really satisfying, and you really want her to get that revenge because she's gone through something so horrific. This movie was previously banned in Australia for the longest time. I can't remember how long. I'm pretty sure it says here on the back. I think it said something like 17 years. This movie was banned in Australia. This is the complete uncut edition. Watching the movie this time around, it was probably my least favourite viewing of the movie. But with that being said, I still enjoy it enough. With me saying it's my least favourite viewing, it just means that it went from here to here. Like, it doesn't mean it's a massive drop. I don't know, I think it's just because, as I said, I have seen it a few times, like, the directions that it's going and stuff, I've seen it coming, whatever, but, where I'll start with this movie is, like, the crazy split of, like, as I said, the first half of this movie, other than getting, like, annoyed by, some people coming through, especially these men, before they do anything physical or whatever, other than those slight annoyances in the first half of this movie, it looks like the best Triple A ever. Like, this is like my type of Triple A. You've got the water right there. The weather just looks great. She's always hanging out on this hammock or out in the water. It's so quiet, and I think that just makes, what eventually happens so much more terrible. Like, you could hear a pin drop in those woods. It's just so silent and isolated. The first half of this movie, it's almost like ASMR. Like, it's just so tranquil. But then the flip, obviously, when shit starts to go down, it just probably makes it even that more brutal. Getting into those scenes, I guess, another thing that makes those scenes where the men do advance on her, I feel like one thing that makes it so brutal is that it's not a one-time thing. They do it, they scurry off, you think, okay, it's done and she's safe, but then they come back in again. And then this one's a worse scenario, and then they go away, and then they come in again, and it just gets more and more brutal each time. Right when you just thought the last case was as brutal as it was going to get. It's just one of those situations where it's just like, fuck, like, it is hard to watch. But then we get to the revenge, as I said. And the revenge in this movie, I think that's one thing that I do like about the remake a little bit more, because the revenge is more brutal. Because, as I said, our main character in this movie has had the most brutal, traumatic thing happen to her, and you just want the revenge to be as satisfying. In the remake, I feel like it is a little bit more, like, personal and lingering with the revenge, and it's like, okay, like, this fucking means something, and it does mean something in this one, but I just feel like it's a little rushed. The order of her going in revenge of there's 4 men. The order that she does it in, I think, is a little out of whack. Like, the guy sort of leading the scenario, she goes for him second. At the end, like, the ending of this movie is very abrupt. Like, she takes out the last guy, and then the credits just start rolling, like, instantly. So there's a few things, like, with the revenge aspects and taking out her revenge that I feel is, like, maybe a little bit off in this movie, and I think could have been handled a little bit better. So whenever talking about a movie like this one, where it's got the subject matter that it's tackling in this movie in it, I think a lot of people looking from the outside in, who maybe haven't seen this movie before or have already made up their mind on what they think about a movie like this one, it might seem a little bit weird for me to say, I think this is a well-made movie. I think it's a good movie. It's a movie that I do enjoy. Like I said, a lot of people who maybe have already made their minds up might see that as a bit of a weird thing, but again, taking it for what it is, a movie, and the story that it's telling and whatever, I think it's entertaining. Yes, there's definitely plenty of hard moments to watch, but for a movie that is, its own sort of art and, entertainment purposes and whatever, I think it does effectively what it's trying to do. Like I said, the change between the first half of this movie, where it is so peaceful and tranquil, and like, as I said, I want to be there. Like, it just seems like the perfect getaway, and then it just goes into the second half, and it just feels even more brutal just because of the way that it opened, and then it goes into the third act of the movie where it's seeking out the revenge. And yes, like I said, I wish the revenge was a little bit more satisfying. There's one with taking out the crown jewels that are, as a guy, it makes you squirm. But again, you want to see it because it's her getting her revenge for sure. Like I said, some of the revenge scenes are a little bit out of order. I wish she, saved the main guy, the main antagonist, as the climax kill. But it's whatever. Like I said, at the end of the day, you want to just see that revenge. So regardless of the order. One thing that I do think is a little bit weird is, again, as much as you want to see these guys get what they deserve, I feel like they fall into her traps a little bit too easy as well. But again, a small nitpick because at the end of the day, you want to see her get her revenge. Anyway, so I Spit on Your Grave, like I said, probably the poster child for, the revenge subgenre, or I guess the banner under revenge subgenre, Great Revenge. From 1978, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Like it's a good movie. Like I said, it's probably the time that I've enjoyed it the least, but 7 out of 10 still a good score. And I don't know, if you're not open to watching a movie like this one, I can't say like, oh, watch it and it'll change your mind, because I don't know, you might have already made up your mind, or fuck it, maybe you haven't made up your mind, you check it out and it's just not for you, and it's kind of maybe what you were expecting anyway. So it's a hard one to say I recommend, but if you are open-minded and, as I said, expect horror, exploitation, some brutal stuff that you're witnessing, but I think it is a good movie and worth the merit. So 7 out of 10 for I Spit on Your Grave from 1978. And that's the end of today's review. Reminder, guys, I have the 31 Days of Horror coming up on my channel as well. That is watching and reviewing 31 horror movies over 31 days all through the month of October till we get to Halloween. I have put a post up on my shorts. I know YouTube shorts cringe, but just explaining the lineup. Previous year when I've done the 31 Days of Horror, I think most people honestly keep the lineup to themselves and each day is a surprise, but this year I felt like doing it a little bit different, so I announced the lineup of films. So if you want to check that out, like I said, it should be in my shorts, and you guys can watch these movies along with me if you want. But either way, thank you for joining me for today's random horror review, and I'll see you for another video or a couple soon, I don't know, however many I feel like before October. So thanks for joining me, guys.